Okay, today is listing, the beginning of listings. So we're going to start with what you got to do first.
Sign for you.
Thank you.
This is the first document to fill out. You've talked to a person, you've got them on the phone, they said, yes, I am willing to talk to you about listing my house. So all you know about them at that point, hopefully you know a little bit more than their name and their address, but if you don't know more than their name and their address, it's a place to start. So with the equalization form, you start here and you've got to go to each of the equalization offices. I've got all the links. I am willing to email this to anybody who wants it.
Ooh, email that to me. Sure glad I can.
Me too, please.
Yeah, might as well.
Stacy.
Might as well. She's giving us a valuable tool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, you're on her
A little bit today.
Really? Am I spelling your
Is
name
she?
right, Christine?
There's an A, not an E, and then Norton, N-O-R.
That's why.
Oh, there it is.
Hey, I knew
Does
you were
Christine
there.
Mikula still sell real estate?
She was actually in the other day.
Does she?
Which one do you want to use? The
The
KW?
KW.
Okay. All right, Tom, Kurt, who else? Rena. Okay, anybody else need this?
You want to throw me in there?
I can throw you in there.
You said it to me like 4 times.
That's okay.
Stacey Stone is such a great name.
And so
It really
everybody
is.
that's on my team, it's also in your dot loop. On your templates, it is number 1. Okay.
You're the best.
So when you go to these links, it's got the passwords and stuff there too, so that you can see what the passwords are. Some of them you need a password, some of them you don't. So we're gonna start with Lawrence County. Lawrence County, it looks like this when you come. Just accept the disclaimer. Hopefully it works. All right, and this is what they look like. This actually has an equalization for all of the counties that we're gonna look at, so there's a sample for you to look at. Okay, so if I put in here, I've gotta put in the address, or you can do it by current owner. So if I put in here Russell, if there's anybody in the county, shocking, named Russell, they come up here. So you can narrow it down by name. If you know their full name, you can do it that way. If you know the parcel number, I don't know why you'd know that and not know anything else, but you might. Let's see, 1863. Russell Street. There, we're gonna take this out. Okay, let's say you know that the address is 1863 Russell Street, which you should know if you've talked to them. Come on. Where are those? Hang on. Alright, we've only got one. The easiest way to do it is to say that you're gonna print it so that you can see it. This is your first page. When you print it out, this is your second page. This is what you need to know. And this is the information that you need for your equalization sheet to fill in. So our name, address, our name is gonna be here. Address is here. Your mailing address may be different. Your 911 address is the address to the property itself. If they don't live there, this is gonna be their mailing address. For all of the JCN people, please put this just at the top of the page. That way we know where stuff needs mailed to them at. I also need this for the warranty deed. Since they don't actually live at the address, I've gotta use that other address for the warranty deed. So our subdivision is over here and your legal description is here. So when we're looking for a legal description, this is not the full legal description. Do not put lot 7 blocks of 14 into Paragon as your legal description. That is not a complete legal description. A complete legal description has the lot number, the block number, the subdivision,
If it's in the city.
if it's in the city. If it's not in the city, it won't have a subdivision there, so you know not to put the city on it. Then you put in city, county, state. When we're looking for assessed value, it's down here, and that's gonna be on your questions here. What's your current assessed value? The current assessed here is this amount here. Your square footage and stuff, we're gonna find that in different places. Lawrence County does not have that information on their GIS. If you're looking for your taxes, that's our next step. You've gotta call Lawrence County Treasurer's Office to get their tax information. So let's go to another one and see what it looks like on somebody else's. Meade County GIS is a login. actually, it's not in here, sorry guys. Oh, it is in here, good. Okay, so if we're gonna do, let's see. Guys have an address I can put in for Sturgis, just off the top of your head, 1700 Cedar. Sorry, I'm talking to myself and I just do it. Okay, so we've got the same information here. We've got the deed holder's name, that's gonna be your sellers. So if you've talked to somebody and you know that Jack has a wife, technically, his wife isn't gonna be listed on your listing agreement. She will have to sell it because the state of South Dakota has homestake rights. So if she has lived in the house for a period of time, and if she's married, obviously, she's gonna have to sign the deed, even if she's not on here. Generally though, this is where you're gonna see who owns it. Also, this is their legal name. So if it just says Jack Rathert, you're just selling it from Jack Rathert. If it says Jack R. Rathert and Vicky L. Rathert, all of that needs to be on your MLS data sheet because the property, when you do the purchase agreement, needs to have their legal names on it. If it doesn't, I or you, in cases of single agents, are gonna have to do an addendum after you've done the purchase agreement to get the correct legal names. Saves you a step if you just have it up there up front. Okay, with these,
Tell them about the marriage thing, because I did not know that.
which one?
Even if you know they've gotten married and legally changed their name, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, no.
No. If they purchased as old name,
Yes,
that's all that matters.
yes, and they'll ask too, if they've purchased as their old name and their deed is still in their old name, when you transfer it to the new owner, it will have an AKA on the deed itself. So let's say that Jack and Vicky bought the property before they were married. So the deed actually said Vicky Ballard or whatever her name was. When we have the deed written up, it's gonna actually say Vicky Ballard, AKA Rathert, on the deed itself. And you're gonna need to know that information when you order the deed, that sort of thing. It's gonna come back on the preliminary title commitment too, with her having a different name. And when you go and show them, she's gonna say, that's not my name. It doesn't matter that that's not her name now. That's how it is at the courthouse on the deed.
That's what happened
So,
to me.
yeah,
It
it's,
was like,
So you
no.
don't have,
yeah, they like kind of flip out sometimes that that's not their name, and that's fine. If they were to go and change it at the courthouse, they could go change their name at the courthouse. Once you're into the process, if you aren't under contract, you know, if you're just listing it and you find out that it's under her maiden name, you can tell them, you know, go down to the courthouse and get that changed if you'd like. Otherwise, beware when we do the deed, it's gonna be in your maiden name with an AKA next to it with your married name. Okay, so with Meade County, our parcel ID is up here. Down here is our owner. This gives a lot of really fun information that you don't get on a lot of the other GISs. We've got the year built, we've got our square footage. Just because it's there doesn't mean that it's correct. Just means that they had some information and they put it in. So, but it is helpful. I mean, it's more than what you got on a lot of them. The lot size is on this one, so we have a lot size. We can stick that in there. You've got bedrooms. You've got a lot of information here on how it was passed between people.
18,000? Holy cow.
Yeah. Okay, so our sale amount, when we're looking for our valuation, and this one has our taxes too, but your valuation is here. It's $115,302 for our your assessed value that's on your sheet. And then your tax history is on here too, so you can see what their full year taxes are, because you're gonna need that for the MLS sheet. You can put that in here. You don't have to call the treasurer's office for this. It's all right on the form. Let's see, and you can go back and see how their taxes have been if they've gone up. And another cool thing on Meade County is they actually, most of them will give you a floor plan. So you can kind of see if the square footage isn't up in the writing, you can get the square footage here. And this has got a second floor, main floor, and a basement. You're gonna need that for your MLS when you're filling in your MLS. That's where that information comes from. Any questions about Meade County GIS? Okay, Pennington County. Pennington County. Oh, sorry, click the wrong one. You put in the address here. Anybody got an address for Rapid City? What are we working on?
422
Thank you.
Racine.
And this one you have to be exact. Oh, that's the number. Sorry, I gotta put Racine in that one. like it because I put in the ST. Usually that's the case. That's the reason it doesn't like it, is because I put in the ST. Come on, you can do it. Okay, and our first one is the one we want. Click on the link. And all of these are printable. I like hard copies of stuff, so I print it. And the data sheet is what you're gonna print. And Pennington County gives you a ton of information on their data sheets. So when we're looking at it, your legal name is up here. And this one, we know that he has Tasha, so she may actually end up having to sign the deed, depending on how long she's lived there, that sort of thing, and depending on what the title company requires us to do.
She's never lived there.
Oh, good,
so
okay,
won't
then we don't have to worry about it.
No.
You're gonna have your address here. This one, legal descriptions are usually kind of in a weird spot. They're down here. And they're backwards, so don't write it this way. It always starts with the lot, then the block, so we're lot 9, and this one's the west half of lot 9, lot 10, in block 20 of the Shaughnessy subdivision. So make sure you turn them around and put them in the right order. Again, that's not the full legal. We need a city, county, and state to be a full legal. This one, our assessed tax or assessed values over here. And this one has 3 pages on it. Sometimes they have as many as 5. They do the floor plan the same as Lawrence County does, which is kind of nice. They give you all of the information about the property too. So if you're looking for something, if you need to know, you can't remember if it had metal shingles or if it had composition shingles, you usually find it on here. If it has air conditioning, they'll usually have it on here too. And then your year built is right here. All right, when you're doing Pennington County taxes though, you have to go to a different website for that. And if we go back here, I don't remember where it is. You can get to it from the general website. Think about where it was. I have to look into it, but this is the link, and it's in that email that I sent to you too. So when we do this one, all you need is the majority of the information that you can come up with. Alright, and this gives you your information too. Down here, the easiest way to see if they've paid their stuff, you can reprint the tax notice here, and this also has your stormwater. If there's any assessments, they're gonna be down there in the corner, so you know that there's, like in Spearfish, there's a sidewalk assessment that's on almost everybody's. Stormwater assessment, usually in Rapid City, is the one that you're gonna see there.
Is that in addition to their taxes?
Yes, it is. It's on
Okay.
top of. When you reprint, if you were to reprint this, it comes out as a full sheet. And then you can see how it's broke down to the school district, the water district, and then the stormwater assessments down here. But then your total would be these two put together. And again, it's just a way so you can know what their taxes are gonna be. Any questions about Pennington? Okay, Butte County is the hardest. They don't have anything online, so in the email that I sent you, they have a telephone number that you call and ask them to send you their assessor's card. Their assessor's cards, if you go to your packet, it should be the third one. I'll say it's the third one for, yep, it's the third one down. They have 2 options, the newer ones and the older ones. The newer ones don't have quite as much information as the old ones do. The new ones all look like this, they're all yellow, and then they've got 3 pages. They've got pictures on the very back. They'll have a drawing on the second page usually. Your legal description on this one is right at the top underneath the names, right here. And then it has your assessed value. Let's see, where are they putting it now? And it says appraised value instead of assessed value now. On the old one it said assessed value, it's the appraised, under the appraised section. Some of town has been redone, so they've got the new cards on them. Part of town has not been put into the system yet though, and almost all of the county has none. So you'll get a card that looks like this. This actually has a ton of information. It'll have who it was sold to, who it was bought from, what they paid for it, when it was done, all of your assessed values all the way back, and their assessed values are gonna be across the bottom down here, and it'll have a date next to, at the top, which year it goes with for that assessed value. And then they've got their drawings, and if they go back and have to reassess it, and they've done, they've done an addition on the house, it'll have the drawing of the addition on it usually. And then the third page is a description of all the stuff that goes with the house. So we had that one spot in Pennington County where it told you there was air conditioning and what the siding was and what the roof was. The old Butte County assessor's cards actually went through that too, and they just wrote it by hand. So personally, I like the old ones. They're getting almost everything changed over. If you don't see something on the new one, you can request to have the old one emailed to you, and everything's going to be emailed to you. There should not be a charge if it's emailed to you. If they fax it to you, I don't know why you'd have it faxed, because we don't really have a fax here, but if you have it faxed, there's a charge to have it faxed, but to have it emailed, there's no charge to have it emailed. Any questions about Butte County? Alright, so let's go back to that equalization sheet that we started with. We know we're going to circle if it's residential land, commercial, multifamily. We've got their name, we've got their address, we've got their parcel number. The parcel number you are going to need if you call in to Lawrence County to get the taxes. They need that parcel number to look it up by, so that's why it's on there. There you go, there's one for you. No, you're fine. Alright, so we've got the assessed value for the last year, the year it was built, your square footage, your lot size. The garage and outbuildings are usually going to be on that information somewhere. You're going to be able to find it. Taxes are next. You do want to know if it's owner-occupied or non-owner-occupied status. What does that mean? Does everybody understand what owner-occupied status means? What happens if they're, okay, how do you get owner-occupied status? What does that mean?
It's your primary residence.
It's your primary residence. So if I have my primary residence and I have 3 rentals, the 3 rentals that I have are going to be non-owner occupied status, and they're typically 30% higher in taxes because they're investment properties. The county assumes that you're using those for income, so they're going to tax you higher on them. When you call and find out, it's not like it's automatic. It just because someone has that as their primary residence doesn't mean that the county has automatically put that as their home owner occupied status. So when you call, ask to make sure, because I have found people who have lived there for years and never knew that they're not on owner occupied status. Which, if they are that way, tell them. That way they can go in and change it. The only times that they can change it is between November 1st and March 15th. If it's outside of that time period, they gotta wait until November 1st again. So, but if you're in that time period and they don't know about it, I'd let them know. Unless they have, they're living in one of their rentals, or I don't know why they would not want that to be that way, but that's the case usually. It also tells you if they're selling an investment property, you need to mark it on the MLS that this is non-owner occupied status, because if someone is buying it, they know that the taxes aren't going to be that high. The next time it comes around for the next year's taxes, they can switch it to owner occupied status, and it'll be usually about 30% cheaper. Any questions about owner occupied status? Special assessments, we talked about that with the water drainage in Rapid City. Spearfish, there's usually going to be a $20 or $40 for the sidewalk assessment. Knowing whether or not they've paid their taxes, kind of important. If they have not paid their taxes in a while, they're gonna have to pay them when they close. So whether they like it or not, you can't just sit on back taxes. It doesn't affect the buyer usually in any way. So let's say I called and they haven't paid their taxes for 3 years. So I'm gonna find out what the taxes were for every single year. There's gonna be interest for every single year that's on top of, and then there's gonna be taxes to today's date for the most current taxes. So I'm going to find out what all those are, add them all up, make sure that my owner knows, my seller knows that they have back taxes that are going to have to be paid, and they will be paid at closing. So when you're doing your net sheets, figure in that full amount for the taxes. It's not going to be just 1 year's taxes on your net sheet. It's going to be that full amount. So if they're, $10,000 in back taxes, It's not gonna be whatever it was, 2,500 or whatever last year's taxes were. It's gonna be that full amount, so don't let them be surprised. It's your job to inform them. They should know, most people know if they haven't paid their taxes. A lot of people won't necessarily know how much it is though, especially since there's interest that's accruing on all of those taxes that they haven't paid. I have this in here so I know who called and when they called. So if we've had one on the market and then it's come off the market for some reason, and then, you know, we save all of our stuff. They decide to put it back on the market a year later. I can tell when I called to get those if the taxes, I mean, if it's within the time period and the taxes haven't been updated or assessed, there's really no need to call and get new taxes. But if it's been a while, I need to call and get new taxes to make sure that they're correct. The next ones are utilities. Butte Electric and Black Hills Energy, you can call all day long, and those companies will tell you, as long as you have the address, just tell them I have a client who's selling their house, I need to get the average utilities for the last year on this property. They will give you the last year's average utilities. MDU will not. If they have MDU, when you're sitting down and doing your listing documents with them, I actually have it on my phone, and they will only talk to the homeowner. MDU will only talk to the homeowner. So while we're sitting there, I have the husband usually filling out the property disclosure, because they usually know that information. I mean, there's kind of times with his wife, but usually it's going to be the husband. So he's filling out the property disclosure. While he's doing that, I have her call MDU right while we're sitting there and get me the average MDU numbers so that we know what the average utilities are. The last part is just stuff that it's good to know. If you want to fill in that information, it's good to know. It's there for you to find out. Any questions about the equalization sheet? Any questions about any of the GIS or assessor's cards that we went over? Alrighty. The next one is the multiple listing service. This is for our MLS, and this goes over all of the questions that our MLS currently asks. So when you start, before I went to a house, I'd fill in as much information as I know. The ones that are highlighted are actual questions on the MLS that need answered on the MLS. If they aren't highlighted, especially when you get to the next page where it's the list, not everything is required answer. Like the zoning and stuff, that's not required. If it's highlighted though, it's required, and it's required either on this MLS or on the Rapid City MLS. Just because it's not required on this one doesn't mean that it is required on the Rapid City. And Rapid City requires all of their questions to be answered. So like on ours, on the Northern Hills MLS, zoning and stuff, you can actually leave those blank and it's not a big deal. On the Rapid City MLS, they will not allow you to have a blank. You have to check mark something. So if it's highlighted, it means there's a required question. So you guys know before you're getting into it, that's what it is. And I actually do this. The questions that I don't know the answers to, I sit there and ask them, because you gotta know when you're sitting at the MLS thing and you're filling in the data sheet and you don't know, I forgot what to ask them, what kind of siding they have. You can't go any farther if you don't know what kind of siding they had. You're stuck. You gotta call them. You gotta find them. If you do it all at one time, it's a little bit easier.
So for us, during our first appointment, this is what we were taking with us. Yeah. I had a different one, I don't know which one that was, but.
No, that's okay. Any questions about that? Okay, next we're going to go to the listing docs that you need. The first one is the real estate relationship disclosure. It's the exact same one that we used for the buyers. Okay, when you're doing it in that loop, I make a template that is for your buyers and for your sellers, simply because when you get down here, these are set for the buyer or for the seller. So if you do them in your templates, it's easier to have one as one and one as the other, because when you pull them in,